Hello and welcome to In Touch with Durham County. I'm Deborah Craig Ray, General Manager of Strategic Planning and Innovation. Joining me is our co-host, Wendy Jacobs, Chair of the Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you, Deborah. We use this show to share vital information about the numerous programs and services provided by Durham County Government.
Today we're pleased to welcome Teresa Hairston, Deputy Tax Administrator, to discuss the important tax revaluation process. In our second segment, we'll speak with Pat Young, City County Planning Director, as he discusses alternative housing solutions. Chair Jacobs, let's begin our discussion.
So thank you so much, Teresa, for being with us here today. Can you explain to us what is a general reappraisal, generally called tax reevaluation?
So a general reappraisal is where all market value is reset for all property in the county. That means all real property, residential, commercial, agricultural, and so it does not include personal property, things like boats, motors, jet skis, those types of things. Basically what we do is we take a snapshot of a particular day, that day being January 1st, 2019 in this particular case.
Wow, so, explain to us, I know this is a big undertaking, why is Durham County conducting a reappraisal?
So, for the most part, it's mandated by the state of North Carolina. And we are required to do a general reappraisal at least once every 8 years, not just in Durham County, but that's every county in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. Durham County did its last general reappraisal in 2016. We're doing it now, 2019, and then it'll be every 4 years from here on out.
And what has the tax office done so far to inform residents about the reappraisal process?
Well, we've been working on this process for about 2.5 years since we actually ended the last general reappraisal. So we've gone out into the county. We've looked at every property in the county. We've sent out mailings to our taxpayers. We've included in last year's annual tax bill a notice telling taxpayers and citizens that general reappraisal was coming. So we've advertised everywhere we could just to let them know that it's happening.
And you've been doing some outreach, right, to groups?
Yes,
right?
Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah. We have, along with our revaluation coordinator, Ryan Vincent, we've gone out and talked to community leaders, community homeowners associations. We've done about 15 to 20 of those over the last 2 months, just to tell them about the general reappraisal process, what steps they can take going into the future, what it's all about. And we will also be doing informational meetings for our taxpayers once they receive their notices.
Great. A term we often hear associated with reappraisal is market value. Can you explain to us what you mean by market value?
So market value is the most probable price that a property would bring on the open and competitive market, basically an arm's length transaction. So let's say if I were to sell my house, if I were to come to you and say, Wendy, would you like to buy my house for $100? That is not considered an arm's length transaction because no one else had the opportunity to purchase that property. It was not on an open market. Mm-hmm. So market value is what the property would sell for on an open market. All properties knowing what uses and what value they can get from the property.
So why are accurate property values so important to the process?
So property taxes are based on property values. As I mentioned previously, values change over time based on generally location. We've all heard that adage, location, location, location. Mm-hmm. And that's particularly important when we're talking about property values. So they change over time. Generally, as I said, different locations bring different values. And so that's why it's important that we reset those values periodically.
So who actually does the reappraisal? Just kind of explain how it's done.
So we have in our office a little over 60 employees. But of course, they're not all dedicated to just the general reappraisal. We have a real property appraisal division, and as I previously mentioned, they've been working on this for about 2.5 years now. And they are responsible for going out, measuring and listing. We've been to every property in the county, about 115,000 properties, and actually looked at every property. So if you've seen people in these loud green vests come to your door, knocked on the door, that was the reappraisal staff out there looking at property.
Mm-hmm. And of course, they had ID.
Absolutely, IDs, and they left hangers on the doorknobs and county cars that have those nice county emblems on the side.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Great. Now, when will citizens be informed of their updated value?
So the notices have already gone out, and we will continue to inform people or to talk with people over the next few weeks as we hold informational meetings with citizens.
Great.
And so what steps should citizens take once they receive notification of their updated value?
So the first thing that we ask citizens to do is to review all the information. We ask that they go to our website and look at the property characteristics that we have on our records. Make sure that the bedrooms and the bathrooms, of whether or not they have a chimney or fireplace rather, and a garage. Make sure that all that information is correct. A lot of times, if you value is out of line, then it may be because that there's a property characteristics that isn't correct. Once they've reviewed everything, we ask that they compare their property to sale prices of other properties in the area. We've looked at over 12,000 sales over the last 2 years, and we go out and review those sales. We send out flyers and asking property owners, is everything correct? So the sales are there for anybody to look at. So once you've reviewed it and you've compared property with your property with sale prices, then make a determination as to whether or not you feel like that value that we've set your property at is an accurate value.
And those comparative, you have some of those on the website as well, right? The comparative values.
We have, our website is amazing. You can find aerial photography there, orthophotography there. We have what we refer to as comper, and so basically you put your property, your parcel reference number in there. It'll bring up your property, and it'll bring up all the surrounding sales for your property, and you can compare your property value to those that have sold in your neighborhood.
Oh, that's amazing. We're certainly making it as easy as possible for people.
We're certainly trying to.
Yes. How can Durham County property owners appeal their value if they are not happy with what the reval has said?
So, as I stated before, once you've looked at your property, you've reviewed it, you've compared it to surrounding sales, if you're still not happy with the value, then right there on our website, we have a place for you to appeal that property value. Everything can be done right there online, including those changes that I talked about before. If we find something, the bedroom, bathroom, that's incorrect, all of that can be done right there on the website. So you can appeal right there on the website. If you're not comfortable with appealing it online, then you can also obtain a paper form and send it into our office. The good thing about appealing it online is that you have communication with an appraiser. So you can send emails, they set appointments, all of those things can be done right there online, and you can see the progress of where your appeal is.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So here's a big question. How does reappraisal impact your bill? Say if I had a bill of a certain amount last year, will my bill be the same? Will it be different? How will I know?
Well, we can't tell you that your bill will be the same or different because the tax bills are not going to be generated until after the budget process. Your tax bill is made up of two different components, the tax value as well as the tax rates. Tax rates are set by our taxing officials, our governing body, and that's a part of the budgeting process. So until that we actually go through that budgeting process, we won't know how your bill is going to be affected. It can go up, it can go down, or it can stay about the same.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So this is some great information. We're about out of time. So how can residents actually get more information about the whole revaluation process?
So in addition to going to our website, we will also be having individual informational meetings. Those meetings will be held at different libraries throughout the county, as well as in our new Administrative 2 building right here on Main Street. We will have 2 nights that citizens can come in until 8 o'clock to talk about the process, as well as to talk about their individual properties. All of that information is right there on our website.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And how can people sign up for the appointments?
So if they go to our website, they can schedule an appointment. The appointments are 15 minutes. As I said, we talk about the appraisal process, we talk about the characteristics of your property, and help you look at your property and make a determination as to whether or not you need to appeal. Our information right there on our website, and of course you can always call our office at 919-560-0300.
Okay, and can you give us the website, please?
Yes, the website is www.dconc.gov, and if you want to go directly to the General Reappraisal information, just do www.dconc.gov/tax-help. That's TAXHELP.
Excellent. Well, we want to thank you so much for being on the show today, but we certainly want to thank you and your entire staff for all the great work that you do, not just on Reval, but your general operations of, bringing in revenue for us so that we can provide the wonderful services that we provide.
We couldn't do it without you and all of your staff.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you.
You're superstars. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we'll hear from Pat Young, City County Planning Director, about expanding housing choices in Durham. Stay with us.
We can all agree, Durham is a great place to live and work. Everyone wants to enjoy our thriving neighborhoods and new businesses. All of this growth creates big changes in our property values. Here's what this means for you. State law requires counties to update real property values at least once every 8 years to reflect 100% market value. This update affects homes, businesses, farms, and factories. In government speak, this is called a General Reappraisal. Why are accurate property values important? Because they help determine how much everyone contributes in property taxes to support the place we call home. But different areas of Durham are growing at different rates. Without updated property values, some of us would wind up paying more than we should, while others would pay less. A general reappraisal helps make property taxes equitable. Determining your property's market value is a painstaking process. Our team at the Durham County Tax Administration Office reviews every property sold.
We focus on things like the sale price, the location, age. So we analyze all the data, and then we create formulas that value thousands of pieces of properties at one time.
Beginning in 2019, Durham County will do general reappraisals every 4 years. With so much growth, a 4-year cycle helps us avoid large changes in property values and makes property taxes more predictable. So what does this mean for your tax bill?
Your property value is just one part of the formula. The second part of the formula is the tax rate that is set by our elected officials. Ultimately, some tax bills will go up, some will go down, and others will stay about the same.
The Tax Administration Office staff is here to serve you, to determine accurate market values, to help you understand the general reappraisal process, and to answer your questions. You can reach us by visiting dconc.gov and clicking on the link for the Tax Administration page.
Welcome back. With the robust growth in Durham's population, it's important for leaders to strategically plan for housing for our residents. We've invited City County Planning Director Pat Young to talk about the important work his department is performing on this issue. Chair Jacobs, let's begin our conversation.
Thank you, Deborah. And Pat, thank you for joining us here today. Can you tell us more about the state of housing in Durham County today?
Sure, Chair Jacobs, and thank you to you and Deborah for having me on to talk about this important topic. The state of housing in Durham is not a crisis, but a challenge. Affordable and safe housing is critical for any community. It's the foundation of our quality of life and of economic development. And without it, a community can start to have problems. And in Durham, it's especially important because we pride ourselves rightfully on being open to all and inclusive. And we will not remain an open and inclusive community if we don't have housing opportunities at all points in the income spectrum and for all ages.
Absolutely. So, Pat, can you tell us about what the objectives are about this new initiative, the Expanding Housing Choice, and where we're headed with that?
Sure. So we have three primary objectives. The first is to allow more housing opportunities, to vary the types of housing that are available in the parts of our community where there's the highest demand. A second objective that's related to that is to help stabilize the prices of housing by allowing more housing to be created and to allow the supply of housing to meet closer to demand. And finally, to protect the character and quality of our outstanding neighborhoods where we want to see this housing created.
And what changes to development rules will be proposed with this Expanding Housing Choice program?
Sure. So there's four key areas. The first is to expand the locations where accessory dwelling units can be allowed. Accessory dwelling units have been allowed in Durham for any single family house since 2006. And what accessory dwelling units are often called granny flats or backyard cottages. They're smaller homes that can be put in the backyards of single family houses, and they really create an outstanding housing opportunity, particularly for folks that are starting out in their career or for folks that are in retirement, and gives opportunities for household members or community members to have a great housing opportunity at an affordable price. The second is to expand the availability of duplexes. Duplexes are traditionally an outstanding opportunity for existing homeowners who want to maybe age in place or to have some rental income to convert their existing home into a duplex or to build onto their house to add a duplex. We think that that can be done in a way that protects the quality and character of existing neighborhoods but creates more housing opportunity. And a third key area is what we call modifications to our infill standards. Infill standards are a way of ensuring that what gets built in neighborhoods is similar in character to what's already in the neighborhood so that we don't damage or destroy the quality of our outstanding neighborhoods. And finally, we're looking at allowing smaller homes on smaller lots. The average lot in our urban tier, which is our near downtown neighborhoods, is almost 9,000 square feet, which is about nearly a fifth or a quarter of an acre. We think that a smaller lot with a smaller house, no more than 800 square feet in size on the footprint with maybe a second floor or a half floor, can create lots of opportunities for affordable by design housing.
Very exciting.
Pat, I remember you did a presentation before the board recently, and on one of the charts you showed that between 2010 and 2016, job and household growth outpaced development of new housing units. Is this partly why your department decided to undertake this change to our UDO?
It sure is, Deborah. As you alluded to, Durham has created many, many more jobs, almost 30,000 jobs since 2010, and has had more households form than we've had housing units created. Every year, just to keep up with growth, we need to create over 2,000 new housing units, and we have not been doing that throughout this decade. And so that's a big part of what's contributing to the challenge of affordable housing we have here in Durham. So we need to allow more housing to be created in a way that is appropriate and context sensitive to neighborhoods and that creates opportunities for folks at all points in the income spectrum.
Now, in addition, part of the work of this project is to influence both the supply and the affordability. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So one of the ways we can get at affordability is by incentivizing smaller houses that are in parts of the community where there's the highest demand. One of the things we've talked about with the Board of Commissioners, City Council, and with a lot of our community groups is that housing prices have grown over 44% since 2013, community-wide. And that's a very big number, but they've grown by much higher amounts in our in-town neighborhoods, our walkable, historic neighborhoods that offer such an outstanding quality of life. And so what we think we can do through this project is allow the market demand to be satisfied by these new units, and so that folks won't feel like they have to go into stable, middle income, often communities of color, and start the process of community change, sometimes known as gentrification.
Right. Now, in reading the report, you noted that more growth is on the way, as we've kind of talked about, and you posed 3 possibilities. You said if Durham is to meet the demand, we need to grow up, grow out, or grow in. Can you give us examples of each?
Sure, that's a great point, Deborah, and I think we're going to have to accommodate approximately 160,000 new residents through 2045, based on the best projections we have from the state and from the U.S. Census Bureau, and we think that's very likely to occur. So as you alluded to, we are going to have to both create housing opportunities near our planned light rail transit station that will really also add to affordability, because you can have the possibility of not having a car or having one less car, and having access to jobs throughout the region. Critically important. So that's what we mean by growing up, which is by having high density development near the light rail transit system. Growing out, there's still going to continue to be demand, as there is today, for new housing at the edge of our community. We see very high growth in the southeast and southwest portions of our community near Chapel Hill and near Raleigh. And then growing in is what this project is focused on, which is allowing our existing neighborhoods where there's such a great quality of life, such great opportunities and access, to allow more housing opportunities in those neighborhoods without damaging or destroying the quality and character of those neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm. So Pat, what would be the preferred housing types that will be recommended in the report?
So we're going to recommend more flexibility in the size of accessory dwelling units and where they can be located. They'll still have to be behind an existing home so they don't interfere with the character of an existing neighborhood. But we currently limit accessory dwelling units to 30% of the size of the primary unit. So with a lot of our traditional homes that are 12 or 14 or 1,600 square feet, that makes for a very small accessory dwelling unit. What we're going to recommend is allowing up to 800 square foot accessory dwelling unit. That typically means 2 bedrooms, which could diversify. You could have a young family, you could have a single parent with some children, and diversify the types of households that could be accommodated in accessory dwelling units. We also are going to be strongly encouraging duplexes, which can allow, again, a whole diversity of housing types at typically an affordable cost.
Right, absolutely. And with Durham's aging population, looking at intergenerational solutions is going to be really important too.
Absolutely.
So this problem is not unique to Durham. How are other communities addressing the housing challenge that we're facing? And can you mention any peer community examples and work that's happening in other locations that we're looking to?
Sure. So we are a bit on the vanguard of this issue here in Durham, particularly in North Carolina and in the region. But across the country, this is a very relevant issue that you hear many communities talking about. Minneapolis, Minnesota, which is a community that's a little bit larger than Durham, but it faces a lot of the same challenges, just passed a comprehensive plan that promotes all these same concepts, that they will be allowing triplexes and quads by right in existing single-family neighborhoods. We are not recommending that at this time. That's something we want to study and evaluate further with our comprehensive plan, which will be starting later this spring. But they are considered a leader in this area. Seattle, Washington, Portland, Oregon are also communities that have dramatically expanded the use of accessory dwelling units in the size and where they can be located, and they've had a lot of uptake, utilization of those provisions, and had a significant increase in the amount of accessory dwelling units, and they've seen prices stabilize, not go down, but stabilize in their housing market. So those are 2 key examples. There are a number of smaller communities, Fayetteville, Arkansas, Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Atlanta, portions of Atlanta, Georgia, have experimented with these types of provisions.
Excellent, excellent. So did you receive feedback to help you with the recommendations, and what are your next steps moving forward?
Great question, Deborah, and it's something I really want to emphasize, which is that with all the projects we do, but particularly with this project, we have worked really hard to go out into the community and talk particularly to many different groups. We've had over a dozen community meetings, but we particularly are talking in detail with in-town neighborhoods that would be most affected by this project if it's approved. And we are getting lots of positive feedback. So we're going to continue to do that through February. By the end of February, we'll release detailed recommended changes to our ordinance that will provide details and specifications on how we would implement these ideas. Bring that to the Planning Commission in March, so March 12th is that meeting. That's at 5:30 p.m. on that evening at the first floor of City Hall. And then after that, in April or May, likely, it would go to the Board of Commissioners and City Council for final action.
Very good, very good. Well, we're about out of time. This has been a great conversation. How can residents get more information on this topic from planning?
Great. So that's thank you for asking that, Deborah, because we want to get as much input as we can, particularly by the end of February. And as we go into March and April, that input will be provided through the Planning Commission and through the Board of Commissioners and the City Council. But at any time in the process, you can certainly contact me directly, patrick.young@durhamnc.gov. Our phone number is 919-560-4137, and we'll ask that some slides with some other staff members' contact information be provided with this presentation.
Well, again, we want to just thank you for all the work that you and your staff do, and it's just exciting to see Durham going through this transformation. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Commissioner
Well,
James.
thank you, Pat, for doing all this innovative, groundbreaking work about an important challenge for our community.
Yeah. So we've had another great show.
Yes, it's been a great show, and we've provided wonderful information for our families, and I look forward to other interesting topics in the months ahead.
Yes, absolutely. And we will continue to stay in touch with great information that our citizens are seeking to help improve their quality of life. Please join us next time for In Touch with Durham County. Cheers.